Hello and welcome to the video Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Young and old both have complaints about it. I would like to introduce to the video audience at home who are on my channel, my son Jacob.
Hi.
He's 20 years old today and he brings the knowledge about the anime and the video games to the table. And what is your basic issue, Jacob? We both have issues and I bring the old school knowledge. What is your basic issue, Jacob, with the Marvel versus Capcom?
Well, I got a few issues. One is that there's not a lot of new characters. I don't like the DLC model that was done by Capcom. And, yeah, I just don't think it's bringing a lot new to the table.
And what about the Disney thing?
Oh, yeah. Well, I also hate Disney. They have...
Disney's on our list for both of us.
They've decided that they're not going to put any characters that are licensed by Sony in the game, which means, unfortunately, that we're not going to have any X-Men characters or any Fantastic Four characters, which means no mainstays in this game such as Wolverine, Doctor Doom, or Magneto.
Yeah, and you know, what leaps out to me is just the sheer ingratitude of the Disney company, because Marvel has been taking the old school long view of this. Marvel has been trying to make movies for a long time. And I can remember back in the 70s when they were going to make a Silver Surfer animated movie, and that project fell apart. And I can remember back the Roger Corman movies that were never released that they tried. So Marvel's been trying to make movies for a long time. Sony finally comes along and has a success with a Marvel movie and is willing to put big money into a Spider-Man movie when I think we'd all agree there was no guarantee that a Spider-Man movie was going to be a hit.
Yeah, exactly.
It could have been a horrible disaster. Sony put a lot of money into it and they bought the rights to a bunch of Marvel characters and really made an effort to make some good movies, whether you like each one or not. So to me, it's just the staggering ingratitude of Disney to say, okay, we want our characters' rights back, so we're going to do everything possible to undermine Sony and not promote the characters that they own the rights to so that they'll give them back to us. Who does business that way? Sony had a signed contract to license these characters. Who does business that way? Oh, we'll license you our character, but I think I want it back now, so I'm going to undermine you while the contract is still in effect.
It reminds me of the Darth Vader thing where he's like, I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you made a deal with Sony. Why not try and help them be successful instead of like pitting your right hand against your left hand? And I've heard that they're even canceling Fantastic Four and X-Men titles to
they've moved
to further undermine the value of Sony's rights to those characters.
Disney has forced them to move certain characters over to different teams. For instance, Guardians of the Galaxy is a much bigger team in the comics now. Characters that we have in that team now consist of Agent Venom. Thing is now on that team. They've made that team's like 8 people now. It's like Avengers sized.
But it's mind-boggling to think that they would be willing to screw with the X-Men brand and screw all the nation of X-Men comic fans just to try and get the movie rights back from Sony.
Exactly.
And you can't even say that the movies have been a disaster at Sony. I mean, really, the X-Men movies have been hit and miss. I think it's fair to say some have been better.
For early 2000s, you have to say that they were probably up there with the Spider-Man movies and the X-Men movies. For their time, were really good superhero movies. They don't hold up now in the age of superhero movies.
Well, some of them do. Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock is still one of my favorite superhero movies out of all the Marvel movies. That one really nailed it. And I think the action would hold up just as well today because it was spectacular. But also, the first X-Men movie, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but it made a lot of money.
It made a lot of money. People liked it at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it's not as good now as you remember it being, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and Patrick Stewart, you couldn't have got a better person to play Professor X than Patrick Stewart. So, but we have a list of these characters.
Yeah.
And Jacob has the video game characters.
I have the Capcom characters, and my dad is the Marvel characters.
Most of whom I don't even know. It's like Jacob saying to me when we were talking about this the other day. He's saying, "Oh, they put this character in and that character in," and I'm like, I wonder if he knows. I have no idea who those characters are. Most of these characters I don't even recognize just to say, oh, they're from that game. But I know these characters from Marvel. So why don't you go ahead with that and we'll give us a little reaction to the characters.
Alright, so first on the list is Strider. He's sort of like a techno ninja. He's pretty cool. He's from a manga. I just learned this actually. He's from a manga, and then they did some licensed games for him on the NES, and they became kind of like a mainstay in Capcom because he's so popular. Or am I just gonna keep going?
Yeah. Well, why don't you
Alright,
why
I'll just
don't
do the
you
whole
rate
Capcom.
everyone as a good choice or a bad choice?
So
ultimately.
that one's a good choice. I'd say he's like a 5 on the good choice scale.
Yeah.
5 out of 5.
And why don't we go back and forth?
All right.
Okay. And then the first one on my Marvel list is Rocket Raccoon, who's only in there because Guardians for the Galaxy is a huge movie. But you could do worse if you're going to put a character in there. I'd have to say I approve of Rocket Raccoon because it is such a huge movie. I think you should have at least one Guardian in there, and it's probably the one that most kids would and young people would enjoy playing with, I think.
Yeah.
That's not too patronizing.
So my next character is Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, which is just an arcade, which is a kind of one of those really hard NES games where it's a side scroller. He's a knight. He has a bunch of different weapons, got like torches and axes and stuff. It's very short. I would say that I would give him a 3 out of 5. Like, I'm not against him, but he's kind of a weird choice. Like, I feel like he doesn't really fit with the art style that well.
Does he draw players to the game?
Well, so the thing is
Might not
that
otherwise want to play.
Ghosts and Goblins is one of those video games that people have a love-hate relationship with. It's really just utterly difficult. So people recognize the character from their childhood, but he's not my personal choice.
Okay, so that's a very qualified maybe.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take Doctor Strange and Dormammu together because they both just in there because the Doctor Strange movie. There's no reason. Characters that have super magical powers don't work well in fighting games. I think it'd be obvious why they wouldn't because they're just so magically overpowered. It's like if you can stop time, what's the point of the fight?
Well, you have to remember, though, that those characters were actually in Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Right.
And those are mostly because Capcom thought those characters were cool.
Right, and you can put them in there, but I mean, I don't know how you fight with Dormammu because all he ever does, Dormammu is Cthulhu without the rights.
Yeah.
Marvel did not have the rights to Cthulhu. They didn't want to get into a rights issue. So Dormammu is just a comic book Cthulhu. And the reason you know he's totally just Cthulhu is because all he ever does is try to cross over into our dimension. He never actually slugs anybody or gets in a brawl. So yeah, I don't know how you fight with Dormammu. I feel like both these characters are mostly in here because of the Doctor Strange movie. I think you could pick one or the other and put Doctor Strange or Dormammu in there, but I really feel like Dormammu's the one that really doesn't need to be in there. Doctor Strange, I guess I could say, yeah, I approve of that, but Dormammu I think I would strike if I'm the editor.
So my next character is Spencer from Bionic Commando. Spencer is a character who has a grappling hook arm, so it's like he'll like shoot his arm and like grab onto like a wall and like just get zipped up to it, like he has one of those Batman reel things. So yeah, he's one of those characters who jumps across the screen a lot. He's pretty cool. I would give him like probably like a 2 though, because I don't care about Bionic Commando at all. So,
Okay.
yeah, he's cool. He's a cool character.
If you're the editor and you have to make the decisions to keep or not keep.
Yeah.
Do you keep or not keep?
I would not keep. He's a cool character. Like, I like him, but he's not a character that I would think I want in this game.
Yeah. Okay, the next character on my list is Hawkeye, who obviously is only in there because of the Avengers movies, but it just makes it so ridiculous that he's on my list right next to Doctor Strange. I mean, Hawkeye's literally running around with trick arrows. He doesn't even have, better than average reflexes. I mean, I guess he's better than average, but he's a human being. He has no superpowers. He has like explodey arrows and net arrows and other kinds of arrows. So I feel like Hawkeye's kind of a ridiculous character that's extremely low powered in this game, unless the powers are completely off. I think that Marvel, they're always pushing for diversity, and the list of characters in this game does not include Luke Cage or the Falcon. And Black Panther is only included as a DLC character that you have to buy later.
Yeah.
So with none of those big three black heroes in there, I just feel like Hawkeye would have been much better off. Since you are going to have Captain America in there, he's on the list, and I totally approve of Captain America. I think it would have, if you went Black Panther and DLC, fine, but I think it would have been much better off to give the Hawkeye slot to Falcon, which I think he has a flying power, and a lot of kids I think would like to play Falcon. After seeing the movies, he's been in a lot. He's been in a lot of movies. Yeah. Because he's been in all the Captain America movies and the Avengers movies, I think, too, right? So I would replace Hawkeye with someone else, probably Falcon or Luke Cage.
One thing you have to remember though is that they don't pay any attention to power levels in these games. So they're literally just picking characters that are like, which one do we think is cool? Which one has the cool costume? Which one is does cool stuff?
Well, you can't beat Falcon for cool. He's got like the mini wings. He's got a very cool costume in the movies.
Yeah. They don't really do the movie costumes. It's weird. They're doing movie characters, but it's like the movie costumes are sort of like alternate costumes. Like the main costumes are very comic booky.
Yeah. Well, Hawkeye's main costume is nothing to write home about either. It was always one of the goofiest costumes in the Marvel universe.
The little purple triangles.
How he picked his medieval purple jester sort of outfit. I don't know. It's sort of like Jack Kirby went to a Shakespeare play and fell asleep and had a bad dream, and there was Hawkeye's costume.
Yeah. So I'm doing these next two characters in the same group. Zero and X. These are both from Mega Man X. X is sort of like the futuristic, like Mega Man from the future. He's very serious, very like good serious character. Does regular Mega Man stuff. This guy's Mega Buster. It's got like the boss powers, like the axe and stuff like that. Zero is sort of like X, except he's more of the edgy character. He's sort of like the shadow to Sonic. He has a beam sword. I don't know. I like both of these characters. They draw people to the game, especially people who remember them from the 32-bit era and from the 32-bit era. I would say these characters should be in the game. Okay. Especially X, since he's a character who hasn't been in the game yet.
Well, let me just, I'm just going to do a wrap-up of some of these characters that totally belong in the game, and I'm going to mention like 3 or 4 of them. Okay, on this list, we have Captain America, definite big yes. Yeah. I mean, it goes without saying.
You can't not have Captain America.
Right. Iron Man, it goes without saying. He's one of the most popular characters in the movies, which has always been mind-boggling to me, because he was always, at best, a high B-list Marvel character. He was not really an A-list Marvel character. In fact, back in the 70s, I believe Iron Man's comic was bi-monthly for a long time, which was the mark of lower sales than average.
But remember, he was in every game, too.
Yeah, well, also he has great powers for a game. I mean, he has great fighting powers. Very versatile. Iron Man could probably more versatile when it comes to fighting opponents than almost any other hero, because he doesn't just have strength or just this or just that. He has a wide range of weaponry. So Captain America, big yes. Iron Man, big yes. I'd say Hulk is a big yes. Thor and Spider-Man, I'm going to give big yeses to all of those characters. I think all those characters are important enough. You want to have Hulk, you want to have Thor, you want to have Spider-Man. So I'm just going to give all those characters big yeses and pass it back to you if you want to do some that are obvious yeses too.
Okay, so obvious yeses for me are Ryu and Chun-Li. Obviously, they're from Capcom's best fighting game, or at least they're the one that makes them the most money.
Is that Street Fighter?
Yeah, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I would say Frank West, yes, because Frank West fights. He's basically like the MacGyver of fighting zombies. Like he'll put a chainsaw on like a hockey stick and swing it around like it's a baseball bat. It's great. So I would say yes to that character just because he'll just pull stuff out of nowhere, and it's really fun. Dante, yes, from Devil May Cry. he's a very kind of like one of those characters who's rule of cool. So he's got like swords. He's got a giant two-handed sword. He's got 2 guns. He's always mouthing off at people.
Yeah, sounds like a good
Seems to be practically invincible. But yeah, those are all my obvious ones.
All right, well, let's move on to a less obvious one. They've got Gamora on this list, and I'm going to have to give that a thumbs up just because they only put 2 characters from Guardians of the Galaxy on here. They put Rocket Raccoon and Gamora. And I have to say, I think those are good choices. Star-Lord is more of a meh, you know. What's his name? Drax the Destroyer is basically just another strong character. You've already got Hulk and Thor and all these strong characters.
Also, they're going with the original costumes, and Drax's original costume is kind of dorky.
Yeah, it's a very Kirby-esque costume, that's for sure. But so I'm going to have to say yes to Gamora. She's sexy. You always need a few sexy characters to mix into this kind of fighting game. Some people like playing female characters. Green skin, you know, very good.
Also,
so I would say yes to Gamora as being the other Guardians Galaxy character.
And they're going with her. I guess the comic suit that she uses now, which is sort of like this metal like ninja outfit thing.
Bikini.
No, it's full body.
It's not a metal bikini like Red Sonja wears.
Yeah, it's full body. It's it looks pretty cool. So she's got like the laser swords and the guns and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty good. There's not a lot of female characters in this game, which is something that which is something that they need. So that's probably why they picked her. And Groot is used in one of Rocket Raccoon's supers already. So there's your other character right there from Guardians of the Galaxy. Next up we have Jeddah. Jeddah is the villain of Darkstalkers, or one of the villains of Darkstalkers at least. He's basically one of the nobles in Underworld. He's constantly trying to take over Surface World. He's an interesting choice. I think if we were picking Darkstalkers characters, we wouldn't want to pick one of the villains. Like, I think he has something to do with the story, but I'm not sure. But I would have picked a character that would have been more fun, like Felicia or Yeti. I would have definitely liked Yeti, because Yeti's great.
Yeah.
Guess what he is?
Yeti.
He's a Yeti. But he's like a really short, round-looking Yeti, too. So it's like...
So that's cool.
Yeah. And there's a ton of them. So like there's Yetis all over Canada.
He's a Yeti that's not into body shaming.
Yeah, no. He's very like yelly. One of his win quotes is 8th wonder of the world, baby, gotta love it.
That's
so I would say switch Jeddah out for a Yeti, and that would have been good.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to deal with Ultron and Thanos together. And you know what? Nothing against Ultron and Thanos, but let's be honest. This should have been Dr. Doom and Magneto, obviously. I mean, obviously. If you weren't for this dirty little game of trying to undercut Sony, this should have been Dr. Doom and Magneto. Or if you're not going to do Magneto, you know, and plus, Magneto should be in there just because he has one of the coolest fighting powers.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best known villains. He's one of probably the top 5 best known villains in the entire Marvel Universe. But I would also just like to point out that you could have put a Spider-Man villain in here, because they put Dormammu in there, who's practically worthless. And they put these 2 villains in who are basically Avengers villains, you know. Spider-Man, I mean, because they do a lot of equalizing of powers. Characters that have interesting abilities like Doc Ock or Sandman could work very well in a game like this, because they would be fun to play. It would be fun to play a Sandman character if you did the powers well. Yeah. You know, so I'd have to give a thumbs down to putting an Ultron and Thanos. Nothing against them, although Thanos is basically, and everybody knows this, just Marvel's version of Darkseid. You know, when Jack Kirby did the 4th World, he started doing things, and Marvel said, hey, we got to have one of these Darkseid characters too. And so that's Thanos. You know, so, and Ultron's a great old Avengers villain, but come on, and Fantastic Four villain, but come on, he's just not. There's so few villains. It's just I hate to waste a villain on Ultron.
And it's like at least Ultron and Thanos look cool in the game.
Yeah.
And the reason why Ultron is in this game is because the main villain is Ultron Sigma, where Ultron merges with Sigma, who's the villain of Mega Man X, to form like a super robot.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense.
But yeah, I'll get to Sigma at the end of this video because I got some stuff to say about that.
Right,
so moving on. We got Chris Redfield from Resident Evil. Chris is pretty cool. He's from Resident Evil, so he's got a bunch of realistic weapons. So he's got like a Magnum flamethrower, a grenade launcher. He's got this really cool super where he fires all the different types of grenade launcher shells from the Resident Evil games. So he like fires a fire one, then an ice one, then like an electricity one, and then just a regular explosive one, which is still a pretty cool super. He's a pretty good zoner. A zoner's character who uses a lot of projectile attacks. It's pretty cool. I give him a thumbs up, even if he is in this game, and I do think that we could have a different Resident Evil character in the game.
Okay, so that's a thumbs up.
Yeah, that's a thumbs up.
And I go for gonna take two at once here. Captain Marvel, female Captain Marvel, and Nova. I think both these choices are very questionable. I think Nova, I just have to give a total thumbs down to. I don't know what they're thinking with Nova. Nova is such a mediocre character. They'd be so much better off with practically any hero I could think of in the Marvel universe. But Captain Marvel, I would give her a thumbs down, but she's a female, and the only other female I see on this list is Gamora. And so obviously they need more female characters. If you wanted to keep Captain Marvel around, if you're not keeping her around just because she's female, then I don't know what she's doing on this list, because she's not that popular a character.
Well, remember, she is becoming more popular now, and she is getting a movie at some point.
Well, right, but she hasn't had a movie yet.
Within the next 2 years, they're planning to get a movie, and they're trying to get this character's popularity up.
Yes, well, Black Widow's already been into Avengers movies, and she's well known to Daredevil fans, and she's not on this list. So I just think that Nova would be better off being replaced with a different female character, possibly Jessica Jones, possibly Black Widow, or it could be the She-Hulk. There's it could be Namora even. There's a lot of female characters you could use. But also, I for a fighting game, Nova should definitely be replaced with somebody. For a fighting game, it's kind of amazing that they have kung fu characters on the video game side, and this list of Marvel characters does not include Iron Fist, and it does not include Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. So those are your two big kung fu characters from Marvel, and they're not on the list. They should at least have one kung fu character on the list, and you would think, since Netflix is putting out the Iron Fist show, that they might want to put the Iron Fist on this list. And he's got you can give him all the kung fu moves you want, and he's got a big finishing move. So.
And this is especially weird because Iron Fist was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and there's a lot of returning characters from that game.
Right, so why would you drop him out now that he has a TV show? So why did they drop the character
who now has a TV show?
They're trying to promote the Defenders. Yeah. So why don't they put Luke Cage in there? I mean, they could definitely use another black guy on this list.
I would say that they should have switched Ghost Rider with Iron Fist.
Yeah, okay. Well, Ghost Rider is the last character on my list. Do you have any others on your list?
Let's see here. On my list, I'll just go through some of these quick. Morgan is a female character. She's basically the main character from Darkstalkers. Sort of like a female vampire type character. And she's pretty cool. I would say thumbs up. Once again, they need more female characters. There are 2 female characters on this list, and one of them's Chun-Li, and the other one's Morgan. The other 3 characters are Hagar, who is from Final Fight, I believe. Yeah, Final Fight. Buff guy, likes to hit young punks with pipes. Final Fight's a beat 'em up game.
Right.
The last 2, Nemesis. Nemesis is from Resident Evil 3. Nemesis, he's just sort of like this monster with a rocket launcher who follows people around. I don't know why he's in this game. He's returning from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I don't know why he's here. Firebrand, also from Ghosts and Goblins. He's like a red demon monster thing. Also returning from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Also have no idea why he's here. So, there's that.
Well, then at the bottom of my list is Ghost Rider, who I'm going to call Ghost Rider by his true name, Cancellation King, because this character, I mean, where do people keep getting the idea that this is a great character? I personally kind of like Ghost Rider. I like this. I read his original run back when Don Perlin was drawing it, and it was one of those freaky monster type comics that Marvel started coming out with. When the comics code went belly up, they could do vampires and werewolves and Satan, and so they decided to. The Ghost Rider has the worst inspiration of any character, I think, because he's the only comic strip character with his own series who's based on a tattoo. It's literally the image of the flaming skull, which is a very common biker tattoo from the 50s and 60s and onward. Very familiar tattoo piece of flash art, and that was the inspiration basically for Ghost Rider. And when they created the character, they didn't stop and think about the fact that it's very hard to fight most villains when you're riding on a motorcycle, because most villains are not also riding on a motorcycle. Also, there's a reason why comic books always have fist fights, but they don't have car chases. Okay, in fact, Master of Kung Fu actually did a long car chase sequence in one of their comics, and fans raved about it. But when they did it, it became obvious why the comics don't do car chases, because it's really hard to pull it off. It's really easy on videotape to wow people with fast cars moving, but when in a series of static, unmoving panels, it's really hard to create that feeling of excitement and movement. So having a character who's always riding a motorcycle when he's in costume is inherently a problem, because all of your other villains on this list, I don't think any of those characters on that list have vehicles, do they?
Strider stands on top of a robot panther sometimes, but not
basically
really.
Ghost Rider can go do figure eights and loops around people while he blasts at them with his hellfire, which somehow is neither fire nor what? I mean, it's one of those neither fish nor fowl things. It doesn't exactly burn you, but he has a flaming chain that he hits you with. But he's a pretty much an inarticulate character. He can't really go off and explain to you what he's doing the way Reed Richards does. So he's very limited in his dialogue, and very limited in the fact that he has to somehow incorporate. He's like the old aviation heroes of World War II that always had to incorporate their planes into the story. He's got to put his motorcycle into the story in some way, and that doesn't make him a good character for a fighting game. And you'd think that Marvel would have learned something, because they canceled his original comic in well less than 100 issues. And then they've brought him back multiple times, and then he tends to come back for a while. Sometimes even has multiple books going at the same time, and then peters out and gets canceled again, because he's a very limited character, so it's a very hard character to write.
And
so I don't really see Ghost Rider as being a great inclusion in this group at all. I think that they would be almost better off with almost any Marvel hero. They didn't put Daredevil in this group, and I would much rather see Daredevil or Luke Cage or even Jessica Jones or Shang-Chi or somebody of that ilk in that spot.
Anybody new.
Yeah.
Any characters ever been in Marvel vs. Capcom before. Do you want to go over the DLC for your side quick, and then I'll go over the DLC?
Well, the DLC for my side is Winter Soldier, Black Widow, not Vido, Venom, and Black Panther. Well, I totally agree with putting Venom and Black Panther in the game, but they shouldn't be DLC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cheating to make them DLC.
And Black Widow should also totally be in the game.
Black Widow, I think she'd be better off in the game than DLC. Yeah. Winter Soldier, I mean, seriously, what the F?
We already have a character with a robot arm.
What is
and
this?
It's a cooler robot arm.
It's not even a well-known character. It's Bucky's identity from a movie.
Yeah, I mean, he was from a comic too, but nobody read that comic storyline, so who cares?
You'd literally be better off putting Bucky in there, because old school comic fans would like to have Bucky more than they'd like Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's a nothing. It's a nothing burger. It doesn't attract anybody to the game really. So I don't get that at all.
The only reason why Venom's back in there is because Venom's just sort of backed by popular demand of fans, because everybody loves Venom.
Well, if you have Spider-Man in the game, I think with this many slots, you could have one Spider-Man.
You gotta either have Venom or Green Goblin in the game.
Yeah, although
when we get right down to it, Capcom likes Venom more than they like Green Goblin.
Although if they really want to make a fun game, they should put Sandman in, because that would be the most fun character they could pick from Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery.
My DLC, because they decided to put four Marvel characters and two Capcom characters. which is, in my opinion, a very smart idea. My DLC is Sigma. I'm just gonna say this quick. Sigma and Ultron form together to become Ultron Sigma. Sigma is a pre-order bonus. Why do I have one half of the final boss in the game, and the other half is a pre-order bonus?
Yeah,
that doesn't even make sense.
That's just cheating. That's not playing fair
Yeah.
with the customers.
Yeah, it's. I've said this before. I've said this again. DLC and pre-order bonuses, especially not DLC necessarily, but DLC that they talk about before the game comes out, and pre-order bonuses are very anti-consumer in nature.
Right.
It's just a way to screw over the consumer and get the company more money.
Right.
My second character, is a monster hunter, specifically a female monster hunter, because that puts us at 4 female characters, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
A lot.
But that's cool. Monster hunters use cool oversized axes and stuff, and they generally have some pretty cool armor. And they could probably do like a super that involves him like calling in like a dragon or something. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm down with that one.
Yeah. So, what's our conclusion? Disney sucks.
Yeah. Oh, I should go over this quick.
Okay.
So here, out of all of the characters that we have that are new, here are the new characters. Gamora is new. Ultron is new. Thanos is technically new just because he's the first time he's had a 3D model in this game, in these games. That's all for this side, not on the DLC. Winter Soldier's new, Black Widow's new, and Black Panther are new. On this side, X is new, and only Mega Man X is new. Regular Mega Man was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Okay.
Jeddah is new. Sigma is new, and Monster Hunter is new. That's a lot of returning characters right there.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm talking about characters from 3. Pretty much all of these characters were in the last Marvel vs. Capcom game, including Ghost Rider and Nova. Did I say Captain Marvel's also new? I don't think I said that. But yeah, Doctor Strange was in the last game. Dormammu was in the last game. Like, Rocket Raccoon was in the last game. All of these characters were in the last game. We have an extensive list of characters to go from here.
Yeah. Nova, may I say, is the real head scratcher of the entire double list. Because Nova never successfully had his own comic for any length of time. And he was never an important member of any group for any length of time that I'm aware of. He's a true B-list character, a character that completely failed to develop its own audience. So why he would be included in there? He brings nothing to the table, basically.
So during 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they had the characters who were in the game. They added a bunch of characters in the game in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is like a $40 add-on or something. They added 8 characters on, and that was fine because it happened like 2 years after the game, a year and a half, 2 years after the game came out. We didn't know anything about this, so it was just a pleasant surprise. Nova was added to this game. I think what they did for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is Capcom just sort of picked the characters that they wanted that didn't make the cut. And Nova was on that group. Shuma Gorath was also on that group. Shuma Gorath being the other Doctor Strange, more Cthulhu-y looking monster. And the only reason why they picked that one is because for some reason, Capcom really likes Shuma Gorath. Like he's in like pretty much all of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and I don't know why. So
He appeals.
yeah.
Listen, we should wrap this. This video's going to go over long. But that's our views. Disney, suck it. What you're doing to Sony ain't right. And you could do a better job of picking these characters.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, let's turn this off.